okay? Because we want that kind of strap down. We don't want it higher, we don't want it all the way up here. And so that's about, that's about where that strap should be and your foot placement should be on there. So, kind of like he explained in there, is shins vertical. Now, one thing, like he kind of mentioned, and I'll just extrapolate on that a little bit, is like your heels can come off a little bit here. But that all just depends on what your ankle mobility is. If you have really good ankle mobility, you're gonna be able to fold this way forward and your shins are gonna be able to go forward more without your heels coming off the ground. If you don't have as good of ankle mobility, you're gonna get to here and your heels are gonna start to come off. That's okay. Okay, but kind of like he said in that video is shins vertical, about there is where we want to be on the way forward. We don't want to be reaching way forward and like really pressing the issue and getting forward, okay? So shins vertical, arms are reaching, but we're not like slouched over, okay? So we're reaching to grab that thing as far forward as we can so we can have a longer stroke. You kind of talk about in there, full sequence is legs, so my knees, then hips, then arms, okay? And then on the way back forward, one thing that he didn't mention there, I don't think he mentioned that, is that the sequence is just in reverse on the way back forward, okay? And so my arms would go, my hips would go, and then my knees would go, okay? So we don't want to go here, or we don't want to go here and then have to take that handle around my knees, right? Ultimately, we want to, it's just kind of the same idea as a deadlift where I want to, now it's not really over my shoelaces, but I don't want to have to move the handle around my knees like I would a bar around my knees on a deadlift. So we let those arms go, then hips, then knees. Okay. Something that he, I think, kind of mentioned a little bit, but is we want our pull to be fast and aggressive, and then our recovery to be like twice as long. And so I know Maggie does pineapple chunks. Another one that I've heard is peanut butter jelly. And so like another like mental thing is like, on the way back forward, peanut butter is really hard to get through, right? If you were trying to break through a wall of peanut butter, like it'd be really sticky and hard to get through, right? And so you can kind of think of it like that as well. But that gives you a little bit of a cadence as well, where my pull should be pretty hard and fast, and then the way back forward is just gonna be nice and easy.
So you say it.
Yeah, you say it during
You have to say it out loud.
I really appreciate it.
Jelly, peanut butter. Jelly, peanut butter. And I want you to say that during the workout.
I'm just saying.
But just know that a recovery shouldn't be this really fast. Like, and I hear people all the time, they're like, and like the chain is like all over the place. And that just tells me that you're just going way too fast on the way forward.
Yeah.
It should just be like a really nice, and then also like on top of being really fast, they're also probably bringing the handle up and going around the knees. Okay? So, the next thing is, this is probably one of the things I see a lot, and Cam kind of referred to this a little bit, but in a different way, is, so you kind of talked about how you had this first move of like shooting the hips and then pulling. We didn't really get anything out of that movement, right? We made a movement, we wasted time, and we didn't really get anywhere, okay? And so that kind of goes into this bigger discussion of like the catch when we like grab this tension. Okay, so one thing that I see, and so I know for one person that comes to the gym, Dee, is she, like we talked about, like why am I really slow on the rope? And ultimately for her, it's like, she's not grabbing a lot of tension. And that begins right at this catch. And so a lot of times people will come forward, and then when this thing is spooling, they'll come back, and this first little part right here, there's like no tension, and we're not grabbing any tension. And that's just, again, like a wasted movement, and then this last little bit, they get a little bit, okay? Well, ultimately, that's the same thing as if I were just rowing like this. Same exact thing. I might as well not waste my movement and go all the way forward if that's what I'm doing. And so in that catch, we want to make sure that we're grabbing tension at the front of it. So when I get you guys on the rowers here, we're gonna do a top quarter drill, which is just like working on like grabbing that tension, okay? We kind of talked about that recovery being arms, hips, knees. We'll do a drill for that, which is just pause reps. And then lastly is we wanna look at stroke rate, so strokes per minute, which is gonna be up in the top corner, up in the top right corner. Okay, and then pace. So, and those things don't necessarily go with each other, okay? So, stroke rate is, there's not necessarily a right or a wrong, okay? We could be at 16, we could be at 20, we could be at 24, we could be at 28, we could be at 32, okay? And none of those are wrong depending on like what the goal is. Now, 16 is probably really low and we don't want to be down in there. But like 16 is good to like just like work on some things. And that's probably a good rate to just be like working on like what our sequence is pulling. And then we just pick that up with like 20, 24. I would say 22, 24 is probably the least amount that you're ever gonna be like when you're rowing in a workout. Up to 32, I mean, if you're really big, strong, fast, 36, but so I'll have you guys get on here and I want you guys to experience what those stroke rates feel like. And so we'll row at 16. And that's probably even too fast, like 21, there's 18. And so that's gonna be kind of like our pause reps where we're like pausing at the back. And then we're just gonna do like 10 strokes that way, and then we're gonna pick that up to be 20. And then you'll just see it's like, okay, there's my 22. I can just slow that down even a little bit more. And just getting an idea of like what that rhythm is like and what that cadence is like how many and how fast do I need to go on that. We'll bump that up, do like 24, and we'll kind of pick that up so you guys can feel those different stroke rates. And then beyond that is we have pace, and that is completely separate from strokes per minute, right? So I could be at a 32 strokes per minute and have like a lot of strokes going, and I could be at a 1200. Or I could have a lower stroke per minute and be really cranking on every single rep and still be at that 1200, right? So that would mean I'm just not pulling as hard. I don't have as much tension as I'm pulling on them. Where if I have a lot more tension in every single pull, okay, I could be at like a 23, 24, like where I'm at, and it'd be all in at like a 17. And so that just depends, like, our pace depends on how hard I'm pulling with everyone. And then it's just a matter of matching those two, right? So how hard am I pulling? How much rest do I need in between every rep? Okay, to kind of keep that pace, and then just figuring out like, where's my sweet spot in the middle of like strokes per minute, where do I like to be there? And then what is my pace gonna be?
And what can you sustain
and what you can sustain for the whole
50
time.
cals?
So yeah, so especially for this, but then as we think about like other workouts, it's like, well, I could have, like, let's say I like to row at 24 strokes per minute. Then depending on how long it is, I can have the same cadence, the same stroke per minute, but to sustain it longer, I just don't pull as hard. Okay, where if it's a shorter one, I'm gonna pull with 1,800 cals per hour, and then it's just gonna be a short one, right? I'm not gonna be able to sustain that pace for as long.